You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Angela Rye.
AR-15.
Welcome back.
It's violent. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You better learn how to get violent, because when Omarosa come for your fade,
She ain't gonna come for me.
Omarosa's no martial arts.
I heard you
She ain't
laughing at
checking
her.
for me.
She said it's a black woman's civil war.
No, she said that after Robin
I know.
Robert. So she knows not to mention my name.
You know Omarosa know karate, right?
I don't give a
How you know
damn.
she know karate?
Because
Like,
she said it when she was up here. I forgot she was up here.
She was up here.
So
who
I-
invited her
This
to
was
Breakfast
years ago, like 6
Charlamagne.
years ago. That is
Club?
not-
was like, I'm not taking credit for
I
that.
forgot Omarosa even came, but it was like 6 or 7 years ago.
6 years ago, I think.
And I went and watched the interview last night. She
Oh,
said
that's when she was still a Democrat? That's cute.
I
She
don't
was
know
an
what she
apprentice.
was
I don't
then.
know what she was doing at that
Her
time.
and Claudia Jordan was beefing. It was weird, but she know karate. That's all you need to know.
I'm not worried about it. She can run about me if she wants to. She gonna catch a case.
Now, Angela,
I don't fight.
we know you. We know
I
you
throw
have the.
shade, but I don't throw them both.
We know you have the inside scoop. So, do you believe that she really resigned, or do you believe that she was let go?
So just to clarify for the culture, what I do not
the culture.
have is inside scoop on the White House.
Okay. You don't be up in there.
Yeah, I don't be up in there.
All right.
But I do know a few things. To that point, what I believe, based on what I saw, in her interview with Michael Strahan, is that she did not resign. You will, if I don't know if you all saw it, but there are a number of conflicting points in her interview.
Mm-hmm.
One of the funniest things to me was when she talked about having certain access restrictions after you resign, which is not true. You turn your badge in the day that you quit, are fired, or whatever at the White House, just like you would in any other
Right
job.
in radio, if we say,
Like they're not gonna take
well,
y'all.
you up here till January 20th, and then
So we'll let you in the building, but we're not going to let you upstairs.
Right.
That doesn't happen anywhere, and it definitely doesn't happen on the campus of the White House. So Secret Service tweeting that they removed her credentials means she cannot get on the campus of the White House, including the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is across the street from the White House, which is where she sat. She did not have a desk in the White
Can
House.
she go on tour? Can she tour the White House
She
now?
can request a tour from her member of Congress like every other American citizen can.
So does that mean maybe she's getting paid till January 20th?
Absolutely.
Vacation
That's all
days.
that
What it
means.
is.
That's exactly what it means.
Okay.
You know exactly what it is. So I'm like, man, she's pulling the wool over our eyes at every turn.
Why was she fired, though?
I'm not sure.
What do you think?
I think that she is dramatic. I think that she's caused a lot of issues there. But I also think that she is, when they talk about birds of a feather flock together, she acts just like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So it's this hyperbole, dramatic mess. There's always some distraction being thrown out there. I have heard from some black Republicans who I trust a little more than Omarosa that she's made it very difficult for other people of color who work not only in the White House but also in the administration because she's threatened by their real political credentials.
So what is her job? Pardon my ignorance,
Child,
but
we
I
don't
didn't
know.
know. I don't
Pardon
know what
mine
her.
too. We
Yeah.
don't-
I
we
just
don't
am
know
not
what
sure
she did.
what it was.
She was
that
Trump's
she was-
assistant.
No, so and just for clarification on that too. So when you work in the administration, in the White House, there are titles that you have. So there's a special assistant to the president. And most people in senior roles, depending on what your pay range is, you're called a special assistant to the president. Most assistants to the president work in the actual White House.
Correct.
So I think, I'm just saying, not in the EOB, which again is the Eisenhower Executive Office building. I think that they gave her that title because they knew from an optics standpoint,
They needed
there
somebody
were no
black.
other black people
Right.
there. There's no Asian people in that
Black
role. There's
women, especially, she said.
black people. The only other black person or other black people in the administration senior level, there's Surgeon General
Ben
and
Carson.
Ben Carson, who's
Yeah.
the Secretary of
I
HUD.
feel like she said she was like the only black woman that
Yes,
would be.
that's in the senior role. So I'm saying there are literally 3 senior black folks. She's the only one in the White House. So it's black people.
She had a
senior
title,
level.
though. It was something urban, like head of urban music or something.
No,
like that.
it was urban music.
No, it was.
No,
the
it
title.
was.
She
That's
did
not
have
what
a
it
title.
was. She was in the office of the public liaison under the Obama administration. Was called the Office of Public Engagement. They made her a senior communications advisor. There was no communications shop in OPE under Barack Obama because there's a communications department. It's this made-up role of hodgepodge-ish.
How much do you think she got paid? If
She was paid $100. It's public knowledge.
Oh, it
It's
is.
$180,000 a year.
Really?
Yeah. That's high for.
Don't you start.
I know that you know
I
you're
didn't say
rich.
nothing.
Don't you start.
We know you're rich. We know you cashing Trump checks like Nene, but
No, I'm just saying that's a great money, but I'm just
no,
like,
but it's very.
She didn't do nothing. We don't know her. We don't know what she
that's what I'm
does.
saying. But somebody,
But that's what I'm telling you. She was paid because there's no other black people that senior, so she was paid at that rate, but she wasn't given a job description that matched that rate. So everybody's like, what does she do? And everybody's like, we fresh out on cable news all night. We're like, we don't really know. What we do know is that she actively worked to oppose black folks in the administration. Some folks who I think were more well-meaning. And honestly, people that I had conversations with, like, why are you going into that role? Like, why are you going to go work for somebody who's not only suggestively hated us, but I think done things that are just downright hateful.
And that's
to
why I
not
made
only
a
our
face.
culture, but others.
No, that's why I made a face. I'm like, you sell your soul for that cheap?
That's right. That's exactly right. But we know that that's happened since we got here on slave ships. So
Yeah.
she's that type of black person.
So you
Thank
think she'll get a big paycheck for that first interview after January 20th?
I think that she absolutely was working to sell a book or absolutely working to
I said
figure
the
out what
same
her
thing.
news contributor deal would be. Maybe she's working on her next reality show. She's definitely going to need a check. She is an active first lady of a church in Jacksonville where her husband is a pastor. I have heard, I don't know this for a fact, but I have heard that members have left the congregation because they're not checking for her or what she represents.
Yeah, it's amazing how she said that now all of a sudden she's claiming to be the only African American in the White House. Like she's and she's like,
well,
our
she's not the
people
only one, she's the
and our
most
community.
Oh, I know she said my people, and I was like, who people?
Yeah.
Where your people at? Because you haven't been checking for us the whole time. You all know that she went on air on Tucker Carlson's show defending Donald Trump's actions during Charlottesville, and now now she has Armstrong Williams caping for her, saying
She had issues with
that's
how he
right.
responded
So why were
to
you
Charlottesville.
defending it?
Yeah.
You not only did you defend it, you went on air talking about how Barack Obama handled the Black Lives Matter, the person who said he was affiliated with Black Lives Matter or was influenced by Black Lives Matter in Dallas. Compare that nonsense to how Donald Trump handled Charlottesville. And she should have had issues with him from when he ran, and that's why she shouldn't have supported his campaign.
Right.
So I'm not checking for her. And the main thing is, I have been this frustrated with her actions since the campaign during the election. She was asking people who know me if we could have a sister girl talk because she was upset that I was dragging her. And I'm like, Heffa, you lost the sister girl opportunity when you started campaigning for this man. No.
Did you just call her a heifer?
She is a heifer today.
I haven't heard that word in a minute.
A
Oh, I
long
say
time.
I say
Pull that one out.
old people slang. But no, to me it's personally frustrating because y'all, I'm serious. There are black folks who have sold us out from the beginning of time who operate in that mode. You cannot put your culture, your people, your community under your opportunity.
I agree.
You will never make a good decision. And that is it's frustrating. It's hurtful to me. So people have been like, why are you so amped about it? Why are you so mad? I'm like, because you're trying to tell me one thing and you're doing something else. I see your actions. I hear the words that you're speaking, and they don't align with someone who represents what I believe are our best interests. So yeah, I'm going to drag you every time.
So that's when you say skin folk. Tell them what you mean when you say skin folk.
So Zora Neale Hurston has a famous quote that says, all my skin folk ain't my kinfolk. And what that means is that everyone who has black skin, regardless of the hue, don't start with the waffle colored nonsense this morning.
Thank you.
High five.
High five.
You're not that dark either, Angela. So high five to you too. But the point is, just because you're of a certain hue doesn't mean that you're going to represent what's in the best interest of that. And that doesn't mean that we're always going to align. But my one rule is cause no harm. Just cause no harm. And we can debate whether or not this policy is best for us, but don't deliberately cause harm.
Right.
And I feel like she's done that in a lot of ways.
Now, question: do I have to pay for internet now? Is that what I have to do now?
So
with this new bill that passed?
Unless you hacking into something and you got free Wi-Fi at your house, at which point we all need to be at
everybody
your
pays for
house.
internet.
We pay for the internet now. What's happening with net neutrality? And let me say for a second, I want to shout out FCC Commissioner Mignon Clyburn, who's the daughter of Congressman Jim Clyburn and who's also in Democratic leadership in the House of Representatives.
South Carolina all day. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, we thank you for that shout out. But yes, Mignon from the very beginning has been working not only to make the internet more accessible and affordable, not just to communities of color, but to rural communities, to marginalized communities, since she was appointed to the FCC under the Obama administration. To watch her have to defend this because someone who's now the FCC chair worked for a big corporate boss and is doing what's in the best interest of that corporation, at all of our expense is so powerful. And once again, it's like Black women are constantly trying to save the day, doing the right thing. And so shout out to Mignon. But I think what's frustrating about net neutrality is the conversation has been had in such a wonky way that people have disengaged. Like, I kind of just don't understand it, so I'm afraid to touch it. The bottom line is what eliminating those net neutrality rules does is it makes it more difficult, or makes it easier for companies to slow down certain services to put some of their products at an advantage.
Right. So if you have Netflix and they slow down to Netflix, that might put another company at an advantage because you're trying to watch your Netflix, but it's buffering, it's not working.
Or you got to pay for it to go faster.
Yes, and so you'll have to pay for certain services to go faster after you've already paid for your subscription, to Angela's point. So there are all of these things that make the internet more financially lucrative for them because they've been trying to figure out ways to bolster some of their revenue since the internet's coming out. It's like, what do we do? We're losing money. You know, we've seen that with record labels and all of that. So I think the one thing that people need to know is it's going to be a more costly space. And it's frustrating because there are still folks who look like me and you who don't even have access just to baseline internet, just don't even have access. So this is really frustrating to watch, but you see at every turn, whether it's the tax reform bill that they're pushing or the healthcare measure that they were pushing. Now that at every turn they're looking out for people who are the haves, and the have-nots are continually being screwed under this administration.
Do you think, I think people are concerned about social media, like how's that going to affect social media?
I don't know. I don't know of a direct impact that I can think of right now. I know that it can impact certain search engines like Google Chrome versus like a Yahoo, and or Verizon's search page, that kind of thing. But I don't know what the direct impact would be on social media. I need to ask somebody that really knows the ins and outs and is a true net neutrality wonk.
That's how so much messaging gets out nowadays, especially for our communities.
No, it's no question. We over-index on social media use on every single platform. Like Black and brown folks are the ones that like have made all of it pop, and that's why there's a thing called Black Twitter. So we definitely use it. It is a free platform. It's the one space, I think, where communication has kind of been democratized, and to the point where we've seen all types of organizing happening online. So yeah, there's no question about it.
You know what I would love to get you to weigh in on? I see that Russell Simmons is now doing this whole campaign, not me, hashtag not me. He's taking polygraph tests to prove that he didn't do anything wrong in his vision with these women that are accusing him of sexual misconduct, sexual assault, even rape. And so we were having a discussion up here behind the scenes about what happens with these men that are being falsely accused, and what happens with these women that are coming forward and saying things, but maybe, you might say, because the guys were saying behind the scenes, like, what if it was a situation where, afterward you didn't want to do it, or everybody was high, drunk, or whatever, and everything went down the way that it did. And then now there's this pushback, like, not me, and there's people like Tavis Smiley coming forward and saying that he feels like that investigation was wrong, they did him dirty. What do you think about watching everything that's happening, just your point of view?
So I actually, and I think Christy Henderson pretty well, but Christy and I, like, were going rounds on the phone, not fighting, but just, like, being tormented by the fact that you are fully Black, fully woman, and the conflicts that exist just within that. And then we ended up taking it on to my podcast because we were like, we can't wrestle with this alone. Like, let's be honest. And I think there are a lot of folks who disagreed, like, with my interpretation and hers. What's really difficult for me, Angela, as a lawyer even, and the reason why I wanted to become a lawyer, so often we've seen Black folks, period, wrongfully accused of things. And the reason why there's supposed to be a justice system is so that you can litigate the facts and determine whether or not someone is innocent or guilty.
Correct.
Simple and plain.
What has happened...
Due process is gone.
And it feels like that in some ways. And so I'm really torn because I know for years, like, I know women who have been sexually assaulted or have been sexually harassed. I know for me, even on Capitol Hill, we would tell young interns to stay away from such and such, which makes us all complicit too in some ways. But at some point, you do want to give people the strength they need to be courageous enough to step up and say, this happened to me. And I can't imagine what that feels like because I've never been assaulted. But I do think that I'm concerned about the precedent it sets for people to no longer have to go through a process to determine whether someone is guilty or innocent.
Simple.
All right, just go right to the press.
That said,
Simple.
if it was just one, I don't give a damn if it was 11 and there was just one.
That's what I was saying.
You still are accountable for that one. I don't care. Like, you can litigate the facts on if it was Bill Cosby, let's say he said it wasn't 63 of them, it was 10. That's still 10 too damn many. You know what I mean? And so we just have to figure out what the balance is. But it does feel like it's swaying all the way back over here, and it terrifies. Like, I think about Emmett Till. I think about black men who've recently been exonerated because they did not rape that white woman who said that. You know what I mean?
And if you're
so I'm inherently conflicted. I know they're going to be viewed.
It's a difficult situation.
It's not difficult if you're being objective about it, because as a man, it's simple. It's like,
this is not simple. Let's be honest.
But I just want to know, as a man, how do I prove I didn't do it?
You can't prove it.
Like, if Russell's saying he didn't do it, and Tavis Smiley's saying he didn't do it, why do we have to discredit them? We shouldn't discredit them, and we shouldn't discredit the people that are accusing them either.
Because I think that the challenge with I'm not going to speak to Tavis because I have other issues with Tavis. Like, where the hell has he been through the whole Trump administration, not saying anything, but he was dragging Barack Obama. But
true.
I digress. I don't know what his personal life looks like. But with Russell Simmons, I can say what bothered me about some of his statements is I don't recall our night together like that. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen that way to that person.
In his head, it might have been consensual.
Russell also said that he used a lot of drugs.
A lot of cocaine.
But that doesn't excuse
he can say he doesn't remember, right?
But that doesn't excuse for sex.
Right.
And it doesn't excuse you not taking no for no. I don't know if it happened or not, but I'm saying the narrative around it, like whoever's helping him with his PR and his messaging, it's been off.
And I also feel like women are coming forward, and it's not like they're pressing charges or getting anything out of it. Like, what does Salma Hayek get out of telling her story about Harvey Weinstein and what happened? If anything, some people might feel more ostracized. It's a hard story to tell.
Yeah.
So for them to come forward, it just makes you feel like, well, what do these women get out of it? It's not like they're getting the fame that they want to get.
Maybe they just want revenge.
But and part of it could be revenge. Part of it could be, we don't know if these folks been able to sleep at night since whatever happened. We also have to acknowledge, y'all, like, whether you're a man, woman, or identify as, neither, there are people who are attention seeking. One of them just left the White House. No, seriously. There are people who are attention seeking. There are people who will do anything for a check, and that is happening too. I know of a member of Congress who's being accused right now, and this same person accused someone in a prior job. Like that, I mean, sometimes that stuff doesn't just happen. You know what I mean? So we have to take all of that into account, and that's why I feel so torn. I know as a woman, I can't imagine what it's like. I know what it's like to be cut off. On air, I know what it's like for you to say something inappropriate, for me to feel like you're dirty because you're undressing me with your eyes. I know all those feelings. So I can't imagine the strength that it takes to have to report something that's real. But I also know that there are some trifling people of all genders in this life who will accuse and jump on a bandwagon. And so I don't know what the balance is, but I know we have to find one quickly.
I just want due process. That's
all
I want. That's why when I hear these stories, I love to hear that an investigation happens.
It can't happen, though, because as soon as you accuse, it goes to the paper and automatically
Court of public opinion kills you. You're a sexual assaulter. You're a sexual harasser. You're a rapist. Absolutely.
It is what it is.
But sometimes the other way around for a woman, when she goes and then people like she's a liar, you never get a job again. So it's hard for women
that's not happening now.
Accuse.
That's not going on right now.
But I do think that there's something to be said for both things can be true. And the one thing that that's really frustrating about this moment right now is that it's so black or white. But truly there is a gray. Truly there is a gray, because there are many of us who have been complicit in allowing rape culture to be pervasive.
I agree.
And we need to look at the foundation of the thing to really figure out what our next steps will be that are constructive. Because it's a tough space. It's a really uncomfortable space. A lot of us will be personally hurt because we know some of the people who have been accused, and will be frustrated and want to fight for the people who we know who are the accusers. So it's a tough space.
Now, can we talk about voting in Alabama?
Yes.
Okay.
Silver lining.
Now, I'm glad that
Christmas gift.
I'm glad Doug Jones won, right? But everybody's saying that black women are the reason that he won that election. Do you agree with that?
I think I want to shout out black people.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to shout out black people. And that's not to take away black women at all. Black women voted at higher margins than even black men. But
not that much higher.
But it was higher, though. Don't be trying to take away our extra 2%.
97% for women. Okay, but it was 92 for black men.
Yes, but that give me my 6%, all right, bro. Okay. So I'm just saying. But no, it for real. But we are constantly setting the standard. We saw that with the 2016 election with Hillary Clinton. We've seen it. We saw it with Barack Obama in 2012 and 2008. We always show up and show out. And too often, we're treated as invisible. So this is my expectation for Doug Jones. Doug Jones will be sworn in because he won this special election. Doug Jones was doing his press conference talking about how black people definitely showed up, and it's because they know him. Also, shout out to Congresswoman Terry Sewell from Alabama, who worked her behind off for Doug Jones. Doug Jones, I'm going to need 30% of your staff to be black like the electorate. Doug Jones, I'm going to need you to ensure that there are super PACs and PACs created and stood up by black people, ensure they're funded. PACs are political action committees to ensure that we can run other candidates, support issues that we care about. I'm going to need for the Democratic Party, through the Democratic Governors Association, the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, the DCCC, that's the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the DSCC, that's the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. All of those entities need to be hiring black vendors. They need to be hiring black staff in senior roles, not just in black outreach. Lastly, they need to make sure they're coming to our communities way before, a week before, or 2 weeks before Election Day. There's an entity now called Collective PAC that's doing great work in these spaces, bolstering candidates, supporting some of their work, ensuring that their names are getting out there. That needs to happen as well. So, Doug Jones, the work is just beginning.
All right.
It's time for accountability. And we're not going to just celebrate the fact that black women showed up. You're going to start rewarding
But not
us
just
for our
black
labor.
women, black
And
men.
black men,
we
but-
need to be focusing on the fact that we showed up as a community and we came out.
I had a
and,
tweet
and,
about
and
that,
we,
but you're going to let me have
we
my
helped
6%.
swing it in an election. But that's just silly. Like, we'll get more accomplished if we stop worrying about who get the credit for it.
No, I think that there's...
Why
can't you get credit if
Because
you
all
want?
black men can't just win an election, and all black women can't just win an election.
Well,
we have to come as a collective.
We did not win it alone, but we made up 30%
I can't
of the
tell
vote.
by the memes.
Oh, come on. You're not. I'm not going to let you be a victim today.
I'm not trying to be a victim.
I told in my tweet, I said, thank you, black people.
Yes.
So, but I'm also thanking black women. We set the standard. If we're in first place, why can't we get our first place glory?
This is
for
why
it?
I'm telling you, we get way more accomplished if we stop worrying about who get the credit for it.
I can have a gloat
There was
moment
a
and be
nice
like, we
black
won.
chunk of people came out
I
in
said that in my tweet.
Alabama
All
of
right,
all
ladies.
places.
All right, ladies.
There's black.
All right, ladies.
Alabama.
But we're black. Alabama's black as hell. That's exactly where it needs
Yeah, but
to
it's not
happen.
a Republican state, though.
I know, but let's look at what happens when we use our collective power
Dang,
to
that's
influence
what
an
I'm-
election.
that's what I'm
Stop,
trying
but
to
you
say.
need to calm down because just me celebrating black women doesn't take away from black men.
I
you
agree
acting
with that.
like Blue Lives Matter
no,
right now.
it's just
Yes,
divisive.
yeah, you are.
No, it's just divisive.
It's not divisive.
And it's inaccurate. It is.
I have
You
a
know,
serious
it's
question.
inaccurate.
I have a
It's
serious
inaccurate.
It's not inaccurate to say this group was first place, black men were second place.
That's
together.
not what they're saying. Let me read it to you. Let me tell
I
you
don't
what
want
they're
to
saying.
read that because that's not what I said.
Thank you, black women. That's what it says.
There's nothing wrong with thanking black women. We were in first place.
Oh my God.
Now,
Okay.
Why does that make you mad?
It doesn't make me mad. It's just it sends out the wrong messages.
It's not wrong.
We need black people.
We do.
voting.
That doesn't take away from that. That black women black people.
Of course.
Very good. We on the same page.
Watch out now. Watch. This is gonna come up later. And it's gonna be divisive amongst people.
It shouldn't be divisive.
It's already starting an argument or not an argument, but a debate that it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be about black man, black woman. We came out together and got Doug Jones in that.
Are y'all's
place.
percentage numbers as high as ours?
It's
my
92.
goodness. The black community came out and supported him, all right?
Black
I
men,
said that.
92%.
I said thank you, black people. But he's riding on this thing like it's Blue Lives Matter. I'm trying to figure out why. This
Can
is
we?
why
Yeah,
you
look, can we
get
just
dragged.
celebrate our black women?
Listen, it's very tough in a state like Alabama to get 92% of black men to come out and vote.
It wasn't 92% of black men that came out and voted. It was
92% of the
the
voters was
voters
black
that
men.
voted for.
But that's a lot of people, black men.
Yes, and it was a lot of black women. It's both.
Guys,
This is silly.
guys,
I
this is
agree.
very
Once
silly.
But then stop.
Once
Let's
again,
move
we
on.
can get way more accomplished if we stop worrying about who get the credit for it.
So,
But
Miss
I don't think there's anything wrong with giving credit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, can you
So give black
credit?
men credit.
I did. Did you not hear me say that?
Oh, okay. Let's make a show.
Good night.
Miss
said
Angela,
black
Miss
people.
Angela Rye,
He can't help himself.
how close are we to getting
You
the
wanna
president
impeach him?
impeached?
That's not happening.
We didn't start there. Why didn't we start there today?
I was waiting. I just wanted to wait a little bit.
There's
Because
all these women that are coming forward too. Well, they've been coming
Yeah.
forward, but even more now, press conferences telling their stories about Donald Trump also.
Can we
But it
impeach his
feels
ass
like
now?
this doesn't matter or affect him at all.
Well, and that is why, I mean, from the very beginning of the election, I was calling him Teflon Don because I didn't understand why nothing stuck to him. So 16 women deep. Nobody, no story works. They had a press conference. The press conference, you know, based on what we saw, was like poo. It was hardly even picked up and covered.
Nobody picked
We
it up.
covered it.
Everybody else like could have one or two accusers.
Front page
Like,
news.
It's crazy. So I think that people are desensitized to it still. You will be happy, Envy,
Okay, I'm listening.
to know that Congressman Al Green, who introduced impeachment articles some time ago, forced a floor vote. I think it was December 7th, but only 55 Democrats supported the motion to table, which meant that voted to not table the resolution, which would meant that they could proceed with the impeachment articles. But even Democratic leadership didn't support it.
Oh, damn.
Which is frustrating. But once again, the conscience of the Congress, also known as the Congressional Black Caucus, came through. Most of the 55 votes on those impeachment articles were black members of Congress. So when y'all talk about our relevance, just remember who's voting your interest. I would say that we are a little bit closer, but it's tough because right now the hurdle that we have, you guys talked about the court of public opinion earlier. Right. His supporters are still not moved, while his approval rating is still in the low 30s, which is horrible to be in your first year. Where it happened to the honeymoon stage, honey, it's still really, really rough. So now there are two tracks. Of course, there's the Russia investigation. Mueller's team just requested all of the emails from a consulting firm that they worked with during the election, which could be anything but related to the Russia investigation. And then, of course, with this sexual harassment piece. But
he said he didn't even know some of these women and never met them. But then
there's lies
of him with them.
Yeah.
It's like,
lie.
okay.
I mean, he lies about everything.
Right.
He lies about what he had for breakfast in the morning.
Anybody else in any regular job would be done by now.
Extra done. We've seen it happen. That's all we've been seeing happen. It's so frustrating to watch it, but yeah.
You think it's more important for Democrats and liberals to focus on getting Trump impeached or focusing on getting the Democratic Party back stronger?
I think it has to be a dual track. You know, I think I really believe, like, based on what motivates me, I'm motivated more by his impeachment than I am by anything else. And so I think that they need to be talking about that. They've kind of brushed it aside. They've been on Chuck Schumer, who's the Senate Democratic leader, and Nancy Pelosi, who's the House Democratic leader, have been talking about we need to focus on economics. That's that message where they want to appeal to blue-collar, mostly white workers. They should know by now that is a base that they've kind of lost, and they should be leaning into the black people and the brown people who have been consistently supportive of them so they can grow what is allegedly a big tent. I think that they can talk economics, they can talk national security, and they have to. They should be talking Russia. They should be talking impeachment. They should be talking about how they are the new moral majority, right? And they should be talking about tax reform. Instead of talking about tax reform and what we really need, they've just been labeling the GOP's tax plan as the GOP tax scam, which I think is lame because everything about this administration is kind of a scam. So people are like, whatever. I don't think it's resonating. I don't know if y'all have even heard that messaging. But it just isn't, it's not penetrating. And so they're going to have to talk about policies a lot more so their messages do resonate.
Yes, because all I hear Democrats and liberals talking about is how bad Trump is. But what is the agenda for Democrats and liberals?
So then you're on the opposite side of me. I think it's important to lean in on the same question that Envy raises every time, which is impeachment. That works for me. It sounds like it motivates him, but you sound like you're more moved by what are you going to do if you are in power?
Yeah, we get him out and put them in, but then what? What does that do for
Well, I feel like
us?
there's already been kind of a blueprint laid. If you look at what Barack Obama did, this is the party that cares about the little guy and the little gal. This is the party that cares about not building a wall to keep people out, but trying to build bridges to keep people in. And you know what I mean? Like, those are the things. Criminal justice reform, not prosecuting folks for recreational marijuana use when there are, folks who are now white folks who are standing up these marijuana businesses all over the country, but there are black and brown men and women behind bars for selling marijuana.
Absolutely.
So there are all types of things that they can talk about. We should know, but you're right. Maybe we should focus on repeating it because people don't remember or don't know.
That's why I like Kamala Harris. Because she's always dispensing Kamala. She's always dispensing information.
She is.
She's always dispensing information.
She's really powerful. I love watching her. I love hearing her speak. Even like the stuff that she tweets, she talks about policy in ways that are very common sense and approachable. She tells people what to do. So she's a very activist senator, and I think that's dope. She's brilliant.
What about the Dreamers now? Because I know that's an issue that we have to deal with ASAP.
Well, what I think has been cool about this moment, as disheartening and as frustrating as it's been, is now a lot of Republican members on the House and Senate are standing up saying we really do need to do something about the DREAM Act and ensuring that we're protecting those kids. Under this administration, they're focusing on deporting folks who haven't even committed a crime. And as you all know or should know, immigration or crossing the border is a civil offense. It's not a criminal offense. And a lot of people don't know that because of the many ways in which it's been demonized under this administration. So I definitely think something needs to be done there. Alita Garcia, who works at forward.us, also did a podcast where she broke down all of the things that are important about the DREAM Act. and the misnomers and the myths. It's not all Latino people. There are Black folks who are dreamers, and we need to be concentrating on, again, building that bridge and surrounding them with a coalition of people who look like them to know that they're back. And Asian folks, right?
And these are people that have been here. It could have been since they were 5 years old, 6 years old, since they were kids. They know the United States is home, and they might be forced to go back to a country they've never even...
Right. Some of them in college. Some of them, there are misnomers about folks who are undocumented, only being, in low labor or low skilled working jobs, and that's not true. There are folks who build apps that we use every day, right, who are dreamers, or who may be here on an expired visa. And so it's just, we really need to start debunking some of those myths and ensuring that they're not able to create those wedge issues to divide us.
Now, question. We were listening to the rumor report, and Angela Yee reported that you have a boo.
What? That's what you're doing today? We talked about this last time.
I don't even know why he would do such a thing.
We didn't talk about this last time because when you left, I was like, I wonder. Okay, maybe not.
What do you wonder?
First of all, how old was this rumor report?
I don't know. You reported it.
This was like before Angela was even here.
Yeah,
that's my skin folk. That's my waffle color.
That's your waffle
skin
color.
I was just gonna say congratulations. You two waffle colors look good to me.
Oh, two waffle color. You in the color complex stuff now.
No,
he is a wonderful human being. I have learned a lot from him. I also heard Angela called him a starter boyfriend.
Oh, sure.
And
I don't think he's a starter boyfriend.
He's not at all. And he's been supportive of
That's a
y'all
starter
juice
jacket
bar,
you
so
got
don't
on.
start no mess. It is a starter jacket.
He's a starter jacket.
But he's not a starter boyfriend.
No, we love Common up here.
So you should apologize to him for that because that's hurtful. But I think that it's important to know from just being around him, like I am definitely a better human being,
That's
and
dope.
I appreciate just all he does for the community, for the people, for the example that he sets, for challenging me. He's just a good guy.
He's a great dude.
Yeah.
And he could dance too. He could break dance.
Oh, you excited about the
Not
break?
anymore.
Yes, he can.
He was just break. Why you hating? Y'all supposed to be cool. Y'all gonna have a break dance class? You guys know how he dance about. That's what you do, right?
Racks dance all the time.
Oh. Well, I don't know what you rolling up and twist. I don't know what the hell that is.
You don't even know.
He got that from like an 80s white people show or something. 'Cause I don't know where he got that. He be like a disco dance. I don't know what. Don't be coming for his breakdancing either. If I ain't gonna let Angela call him a starter boyfriend, I ain't gonna let you come for his breakdance.
Nah, come here. That's my guy. That's my guy.
Don't be talking about his breakdancing. Anyway.
I'm sure he still got it.
He does.
still does it. What are you talking about?
I haven't seen him
Let's
do it
show
in a
him
while.
some video. Oh, fake news
summertime, I seen him
ass.
do
You
it.
don't know what you're doing over here today.
My goodness.
Throw my phone at you.
But we appreciate you for joining us as
And
always.
let me find out you the new head of the rumor report.
Wow.
I am not. I just want to say
Can you give me?
congratulations.
Can you give me a starter jacket like this? I had a Miami Hurricanes one.
I
need
got
one.
you. I'll send it to you for Christmas.
I don't want one to say Giants, so I'm boycotting the NFL. I don't know what you on this morning,
He said he doesn't watch the Giants games.
I don't watch the Giants. I don't even know what the record
but
is.
you're wearing NFL gear.
The
No,
only reason
actually
he said he
started
doesn't
But it's
watch it,
NFL.
though.
There's an NFL patch right here for the people that can't see it on the
I'll
video.
cover because Carl
You
Banks
said
is
you're gonna cover it up.
Carl Banks is African American and he bought
He
the
owns
line, so
starter.
I'm supporting
Yeah.
him.
Oh, okay, well.
Well, can you get a different one like an NCAA team or
Okay.
an
They
NBA
exploit
team?
black people worse than the NFL. NCAA does.
But we're not boycotting them actively right now. When that boycott starts, then we can be on that.
Do you care about the NFL donating $100 million to like African American issues?
I think that every dollar helps, but that doesn't end the issues that we have with them.
Yeah.
I think that it was important that they respond. Like, let's be clear, they were responding to what athletes requested. So it's not like they just did this voluntarily. But anytime you comply with the demand, I think it's worth noting and responding to, which is, I think, yeah, it's a good thing.
I felt the best way to acknowledge that an injustice African Americans were facing by the NFL would be to sign Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
he wanted to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's right. And I think part of it is also not to trivialize or make people feel like they're doing something wrong for
Watching. You're
no,
right.
for
True.
for engaging in their right to protest, to talk about, the many ways in which excessive force has been used against black and brown bodies. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's
I agree.
actually accurate. So it would be wise of them to respond and say, you know what, you all are right, and we give you whatever space you need to be able to, grieve, to be able to protest, to be able to fight for your communities. In fact, we stand with you. That would be dope,
True indeed.
But
Well, thanks for joining us again. And
Thanks
you
for
have
having
a
me.
happy New Year and happy holidays.
AR
Thank you, same to you.
15.
Happy Kwanzaa.
And happy Kwanzaa.
Happy
Umoja
Omarosa.
in this bitch.
Happy Omarosa.
Did you say happy Omarosa?
No.
She can be happy for the holidays.
No, I always make fun of Kwanzaa because it sounds like
Omarosa.
Omarosa's sister.
No, it doesn't.
What are you talking about? This is why you be getting dragged for saying dumb stuff sometimes. Like,
That
what are
doesn't
you
make any
talking about?
sense.
That don't
My
sound like
goodness.
that. That's Swahili, fool.
Omarosa don't sound like Swahili?
Good night.
You know what?
Omarosa
Angela
sound
Rye,
And
like
on that
something.
note,
it's the Breakfast Club. Good
bye,
morning.
sucker.